$1 trillion, that is the current value of India's retail market, nearly a third of the country's GDP. By 2030, this figure is projected to surpass $2 trillion. A report by Accel, Fireside and Redseer predicts that 90% of consumption will continue to occur offline. Surprisingly, online penetration will only increase marginally from 7% to approximately 10% by the decade's end. So, is the era of click and order fading in the face of brick and mortar's long-standing reign? Well, not at all, asserts the report. It's not about online versus offline, rather a shift towards online and offline, where the shopping journey, uniquely Indian, is characterized by a mix of traditional values and modern conveniences. A prime example of this model in action is being seen in omni-channel jewelry brands like Bluestone or CaratLane. Customers discover designs online, then evaluate the fit and comfort in store. Now, this new market expects you to be where the consumer is. In fact, leaders of India's D2C revolution, Nykaa, Mamaearth, Lenskart, FirstCry have all embraced the concept and are leading by example. From fast fashion to pet care and smart mattress makers, D2C startups that raised funding in 2023 and in 2024 have all outlined a strategic offline expansion roadmap. And now they must walk a more agile, flexible and responsive journey than any of their predecessors. And at what cost? What is the playbook of taking your business offline? And in many cases, these young companies are competing with legacy brands and conglomerates. And importantly, at a time when we've seen the focus on profitability, how much cash burn is kosher? Hello and welcome to Young Turks, India's longest running show on startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Shireen Bhan. We are now joined by Prashant Prakash, partner at Accel, Kamaljeet Singh, managing partner and founder of Fireside Ventures. Also with us on the show, Gaurav Singh Kushwaha, the founder and CEO of Bluestone. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on the program. Plenty of interesting insights coming in from that report. So, Prashant, to you first. I summed up very briefly the key takeaways from the report that Accel, Redseer have put out. But what, to your mind, are the standout, the headline numbers as well as the headline insights?
So I think there's two really standout things about this report, Shireen. One is that this report is not just a kind of a status of the ecosystem and just case studies from some of the trailblazers that you discussed. We wanted to see how we can create almost something like a toolkit, right, which will have the right ingredients for these next generation of brands who are going from being 50 to 100 crores just online to 1,000 crores, with an omni-channel strategy. So our idea was we give them the right ingredients so that they can create a playbook that works for them. And the reason why we think that this you can't just be prescriptive in this journey is that based on the product and based on your customer, I think there are just so many nuances and so many details and specifics that it needs to almost be a tailoring toolkit. And that's what we have done through this report.
Let me get Kamaljeet into the conversation. Kamaljeet, this takes me back to a conversation that I had with Rohit Java, the MD and CEO of HUL, in February, actually, this year. And this is what he said, on digital brands. He said, as far as digital brands are concerned, they're digital in the sense that they're digital first and not digital only. So they have to go beyond D2C platforms to the marketplace. And then they have to go to stores and pharmacies offline. And we know that game. That is where we are. We've already backed that playbook, so to speak. So this also tells you about the opportunities that exist, Kamaljeet, but also the challenges of going omni-channel and building yourself out, not just online, but also offline. Through your own experience, and many of your portfolio companies are in the middle of that transition, have made that transition as well. What would you put in that toolkit?
Awesome. So, Shireen, thank you for having me. I think the comment by Rohit is extremely, I would say, relevant, but also it's a great insight into what is possible. So, the whole idea of digital first brands really takes off from the opportunity of talking to your consumers directly, being able to get data, being able to understand the product market fit. But there was never any, intent or belief by any of us that these are only digital brands. The interesting, I would say, dynamic that we are seeing in the market is it's not online versus offline or even online and offline. It is one seamless customer experience if you can create. So I would start by saying simplistically that there are playbooks that need to integrate the online versus offline, whether it is in terms of how you are acquiring customers, how you are building the brand with the customers, how you are taking them on a journey which can move from online to offline or back to online, and different models which are facilitating that. So I think to me, the moat of the large players, and of course, Rohit is a dear friend. Hindustan Lever is a great, bellwether in this space. But I would say that the game that the new age brands are playing is actually very different than, say, what a Hindustan Unilever is playing. So I would feel very optimistic that there's a great opportunity to build large new age brands in India today in the omni-channel context.
But let me get Gaurav into the conversation as well. And Gaurav, I want to understand from you, as the founder of Bluestone, as somebody who has made the transition of creating an omni-channel experience for the customer, to add to what Prashant and Kawaljeet have said, take me through what have been the big learnings for you on this journey so far and what you now intend to incorporate as you scale up the offline side of the business.
So in our case, specifically, in fact, for a lot of high touch categories, what we have realized is people want the ability to actually go through lots and lots of designs, lots and lots of product offerings online, and that browsing, that discovery, that research is best done online, and there are numerous examples of that. Let's say if you're buying a car today, or if you're buying jewelry, or if you're buying a mattress, so categories which are very involved purchase, things that you actually buy once in, let's say, a year, 2 year, or 5 years, you want to be very sure that you're actually buying the right product. And doing that research online is way more convenient than doing that in store, or then actually going to, let's say, 50 different stores. So I think our biggest learning is that for different categories, on omnichannel takes a different form. So for high touch categories, I think it's your own portal, let's say, versus Flipkart and Myntra's for low touch categories. Right, your own stores. But I think one of the things which is very, very clear is business which is thinking of whether online versus offline is going to struggle big time. I think customers are not online or offline. A person is wherever that person physically, the person always has a device in their hands. They always are checking whether it's going to a doctor, whether it's buying a house, whether it's buying a car, whatever it is, online is playing a more and more meaningful.
Prashant, coming back to the toolkit, and let's sort of, address the basic questions now. In your experience, and while putting this report together, when is that inflection point, or when should a brand consider going offline, taking that route as a digital-first brand?
Yeah, so this is a very complex question in some ways, because it is very different for different brands, and how they choose the right time to do it is also a very involved kind of thought through decision making process. And in this guide, we give them certain certain kind of call outs on how they make that choice. And what we have seen is that your customers really are the best judges for that, and you start hearing from your customers that is there a store that I can come to? I love your product, but is there a way I can experience your product? So I think it's important that you listen to your customer, and your customer is starting to and also Shireen, it's very different in the top 10 cities versus the 110 cities that I think are today premiumizing, looking at mass premium products, are aspirationally there, but are at a very different stage, and in terms of what is the experience so there is product discoverability. They have discovered the product. As a brand, you're in the consideration set, but they just want that one trust building experience that converts that into a purchase. So what we are seeing is that there are multiple reasons why and when somebody should look at making this transition, and we talk about that in this guide, and we kind of help them customize that again.
So how do you design, how do you curate a offline strategy that works for you? What were the key factors some of your portfolio companies, for instance, considered before making that plunge?
First of all, I think digital has enabled a lot of discovery in terms of not just consumer discovering the brand, but even the brand understanding where is the product market fit, what are consumers saying about it, doing short experiments to figure out, what is working, what is not working. And that, entire combination of, if I may call it consumer love or consumer, acceptance of your brand, then starts giving you the confidence that there is a demand for my product. This is why consumers want me and want to consume me. A great example is a sleep company, which is one of our portfolio companies, where we found that, setting up an offline store is a great way for consumers to experience that final touch. I think Gaurav talked about that earlier as well. Very often customers we see come in actually will want to lie down on the mattress, experience the actual, how hard it is, does it suit my kind of body type and all that. Similarly, for Mamaearth, we found a very different case in point where the consumer started writing into the company saying, I love your products, I would like to buy them at my local store. And is there a way that I can reach them? So that then becomes another signal of looking for those choices. Designing for your offline strategy or omni-channel strategy is a matter of reading those signals, integrating the channels into one consumer journey. I think that's an important learning for us.
But Gaurav, coming to the complexities of this integration that Kavaljit is talking about, and again, I want to understand from you, for instance, you guys actually had to do the reverse. You had to build out the online model in India, given the fact that this is such, you're dealing with the jewelry segment, which is not just high touch, but high trust as well and high value. So you had to actually do what was not being done. And offline, perhaps in many ways, is the simpler aspect, isn't it?
Truly, Shireen. So essentially, if you look at it, most of the offline or most of the traditional companies would have generally outsourced technology, right? They would be using off-the-shelf systems and solutions and so on. So now extending those systems and those solutions to the online world, and not more than online, actually integrating the systems together is a non-trivial job. It's actually a very, very difficult job. But if you look at almost all the online first companies, they had their own tech stacks and so on. So technologically extending that to stores is a much easier job to do than for offline companies to actually extend their tech or create one more or have one more technology stack for online and then integrating the two stack. Also, fundamentally, retail has been around for a very, very long time. So the organization structure, the kind of skill set available in the market, etc. When an online company is looking to set up a retail organization, retail practices, we get a lot to choose from because it has evolved over the last 25 to 30 years. But if you look at the online skill set, first of all, it's ever evolving. And secondly, it's not more than 10 to 12 years old. So you won't get a lot of experts of the online world who can actually join in, let's say, an offline organization and then make a transition and help them transition from an offline only avatar to an omni-channel avatar. I think those are two of the things which actually which work in favor of the folks who have started online, and the result that we are seeing is most of those companies are actually conquering omni-channel much better than the traditional offline companies.
Yeah, fair point. So what's the plan now? By the end of this fiscal year, Gaurav, how many offline stores do you intend to set up?
So currently we have 193 stores spread across 70 plus cities. We have been expanding very aggressively for last 5 years. 5 years back, we had set up our first store. And this year also, we'll continue to add stores very, very aggressively. Cannot put a number to it right now, but the expansion is going to be aggressive.
Expansion on the cards, aggressive expansion that you've seen on the offline side over the last 5 years. I'm going to try and elicit a response from you on whether we're going to see an IPO in this financial year or not.
I don't know.